Hi, we're so excited to talk to you about our project Side by Side, a healing modality that engages people who have experienced sexual violence and their loved ones to heal together. We're Alyson and Nishita, two visual storytellers and social impact designers passionate about gender equity and engaging communities with care. Side by Side is a collaborative project that we've created in community with survivors, loved ones, and practitioners. We want to start with a huge thank you to our community, partners, friends, family, and advisors for supporting and contributing to this work. We couldn't have done it without you.
Because we're working with a sensitive topic, we want to issue a content warning for people looking at this online. Please feel free to mute us or do anything you need in order to take care of yourself today. Throughout our presentation, we will be referring to people who've experienced sexual violence as survivors. Having said that, we understand and acknowledge that not everyone with this experience identifies with this term.
Every day, we hear more and more stories of people who've experienced sexual violence. Sometimes these stories feel far away, but often they hit close to home.
Traditionally, survivors are encouraged to seek justice and care through formal systems. These are focused on immediate crisis care and follow a linear model of healing. However, the nature of trauma looks like this. It's varied and complex. While some recognize and acknowledge it when it happens, for many people it can take years.
Additionally, sexual violence has long-term and lasting impacts on survivors, with 70% of survivors experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD at some point in their lives. This causes issues for not only survivors, but the communities that they're a part of, with 37% of survivors experiencing problems with friends and family, including a decreased sense of trust. Currently, care is centered around the immediate needs of survivors. However, long-term support is needed to navigate their healing journey. This led us to our first inquiry: how might we reimagine long-term healing for survivors of sexual violence?
Being trauma-informed, research-based, and building of community practices was very important to us. So, alongside building relationships with survivors and their loved ones, we also attended a 12-week healing circle, took 4 trauma-informed workshops, and built relationships with 8 experts in the field. This really guided our work and led us to collaborate further.
In an interview with Michelle, who counsels survivors, we were first introduced to the term co-survivors. Co-survivors are friends, family, and loved ones, anyone who's a part of the survivor's life and may also be impacted by the harm. Co-survivors are often called first responders because survivors are more likely to turn to them for support before turning to institutions. This is especially true for people with marginalized identities who may not feel safe going to institutions like the criminal justice system or the medical. Research has shown that social support is vital to healing and has even been shown to be the most effective in decreasing PTSD over the long term.
However, this survivor-co-survivor relationship is really complex. While survivors do seek this support, co-survivors are often ill-equipped to respond appropriately. When survivors do share, they're frequently met with negative reactions such as shame, judgment, and are minimized, leading to further isolation. We wanted to understand this better and collaborated with YVN, an advocacy group of survivors based in New York City, through our community partner Day One. We worked with 2 social workers there to design and facilitate 2 workshops, one with their survivor community and the other with their co-survivor community, to understand their experiences with support.
During our facilitation with survivors, we heard that survivors often desire depth in their relationships but find it challenging to process and communicate their experience with others. Additionally, many shared that if they do work up the courage to share and are met with judgment or blame, it causes a major break in trust or even an end to relationships.
When we spoke with co-survivors, we heard things from their perspective. One shared openly, "There's a feeling of helplessness of not really being able to support my partner in certain situations. I'm supposed to be her partner, but there's really nothing I can do at this point besides just being there, and that really pains me." Besides helplessness, co-survivors often face a host of complicated feelings, such as sadness, anger, guilt, and blame for themselves or the survivor.
We wondered where co-survivors could go to address these concerns, and when we looked further, we heard from co-survivors, "I wasn't sure where to look, and I wasn't sure what was actually helpful and what was not." The more we researched, the more we found that there's a lack of comprehensive resources available to address the co-survivor need. Many of these resources are focused on the survivor's experience, which, while central, further leaves the co-survivor's needs and feelings unaddressed. Even with these challenges, every co-survivor we spoke to really wanted to play a role in the survivor's healing journey. Because of this intrinsic motivation and the survivor's desire for this type of support, we see the survivor to co-survivor relationship as our primary leverage point in increasing support for their survivor in their long-term healing.
This brings us to our intervention side by side. We decided to call this so because we truly believe that the journey to healing is best done side by side, with both the survivor and co-survivor taking responsibility of their own work, understanding their role, and growing and learning together. The premise of our work and our model of change is a positive reinforcing loop. We believe that by increasing support for co-survivors, it will enable them to increase support and better support the survivors in their lives, lessen the burden placed on survivors to heal alone, and decrease the shame and stigma they feel. The less stigma they encounter, the more trust they'll build. And with more trust comes more open communication, encouraging them to talk about their feelings, needs, and boundaries and build meaningful connections.
To make this possible, work needs to be done by both survivors and co-survivors individually before they come together. Survivors need to be equipped with self-awareness and trauma-informed communication tools, and co-survivors need education around trauma and support, as well as an understanding of their role as a loving and supportive presence and not a therapist. We've created a flexible and interconnected system for our intervention made of 3 components: one that focuses on the survivor, one that focuses on the co-survivor, and one that focuses on their relationship together.
The first part that we're going to speak about is the central piece where the survivor and co-survivor come together to heal. We co-created this with our community partner alongside survivors and co-survivors. The healing guides use creative journaling and educational activities as a tool for reflection and healing, allowing people to express and process their own experiences without worrying about what another person might say. At the end of every section, there's an activity and space for the survivor and co-survivor to come together and discuss. The benefits of this guide is that it allows the survivor and co-survivor to take ownership of their own healing. It builds vocabulary to better communicate their experiences and creates a trusted, safe space where both can learn and grow together in a facilitated manner. In order to make this more accessible and sustainable, we're currently looking into independent publishing and are in conversation with a few organizations.
To get feedback on our healing guide, we created a book brunch where survivors could be in community with each other while reading and reflecting together. Though this started as a co-creation space for our healing guide, we soon realized the benefit of a survivor support space while engaging with the material. We wanted to make sure that these relationships would go beyond our designated meetings, so we did a lot of bonding together to build relationships and created an iMessage group for us all to stay connected. After the book brunch, we got this really nice note in a post survey. They shared, "The activities and strategies I've learned have enabled me to engage in deep reflection regarding how I really feel and what I really need while I'm on this healing journey. Our time together has given me the space to grow and has given me the language to better express myself and talk about my experience with others." The benefits of this group are that it builds confidence and encourages sharing, it creates feelings of validation and fosters a sense of belonging, and it builds capacity for self-reflection without judgment. Everyone in the group wanted to continue having more book brunches, so we have one scheduled for the coming weeks, and we're soon going to be testing a similar space for co-survivors.
So while we were co-creating with survivors, we were also co-creating with co-survivors. In conversations with them, we heard that their primary desire was for a space where their questions could be answered. So we began creating an online platform to make this a reality. Every week, we co-created with a group of co-survivors, prototyped and tested an online platform called Side-by-Side Support. Through side-by-side support, a co-survivor can send a message and ask a trauma therapist a question, receive a response alongside other resources, and find community through learning about the experiences of other co-survivors. The benefits of this platform are that it allows them to be in a space to learn and grow without judgment. It is a reliable source of information and answers, and is a community space where they can feel seen and heard. Our next steps moving forward are to continue collaborating with Rio, a trauma informed life coach, as well as a technical expert to build it out further.
While we see the Healing Guide, Book Brunch, and Support platform as interconnected parts that support each other, they are also flexible enough to be engaged with individually and at different parts of the healing journey. Trusted, intimate connections are fundamental to meaningful and satisfying lives. Side by Side starts by shifting mindsets in relationships, and we see this as a catalyst to decreasing shame and stigma, leading to a positive impact on communities and eventually society at large.
This is so much more than a thesis project to us. It's our life's work that we built out of a deep belief that relationships can heal. We saw this firsthand in our partnership with each other and the loving relationships in our lives. And so we hope to continue to build this out further with our community as we move ahead and for many more years to come. Thank you.